And the big breaking story at this hour, you're watching NDTV. This is the news at 8. Jagdeep Dhankhar has been elected as the next Vice President of India. This makes him India's 14th Vice President. Prime Minister Modi is expected to be meeting with Jagdeep Dhankhar and offering his congratulations. And the big question, of course, now is, does the NDA candidate Jagdeep Dhankhar's big victory, smooth sailing, expose the lack of opposition unity? This is the big story at this hour. Jagdeep Dhankhar, the new Vice President, getting to 528 votes, 528. Margaret Alva, at least 15 votes, we were told, were invalid. 356 votes were needed, and Jagdeep Dhankhar winning 528 votes, really clearly sailing through. Let's go across to Sunil Prabhu for more on this. Sunil, no surprises there. The numbers that have been announced right now, formally announced, really no different as was predicted by analysts, by all of us here at NDTV, by reporters like you all along.
Well, the most interesting thing is, of course, about cross-voting, and I don't think it's been on expected lines. Really, the BJP was hoping to be gaining a few more seats, which didn't actually take place. They were hoping to get some more votes, but definitely, as we speak, the Prime Minister is on his way. In fact, if you can see, the security has now been tightened, and we are told he should be here. The victory signs, of course, all put out. They have in their turbans. For them, it's a big day in Haryana. Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar is now the Vice President-elect. He will take over when he's sworn in by the President as soon as the term next week, when Mr. Venkaiah Naidu ends his tenure. So it's been a big day for the BJP here. They've got their candidates in both, and here you can see them shout Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. These are the signs here at Mr. Dhankhar's camp office residence, where he has been ever since he resigned as the Governor of West Bengal. And this is clearly the scenes at his residence, where they are celebrating his victory. This, of course, it comes in the backdrop of course, as we saw, the crucial and important supporters, that is the Trinamool Congress deciding to abstain in terms of opposition unity. It was a setback. So these are scenes that we have seen here, but we are waiting for, and this is clearly the something which is very, very critical to see, that the opposition gets its act together. These are clearly signs for them. If they have to succeed and take on the BJP-led NDA in the 2024 elections, it's time now for the opposition to pull up its socks. Clearly, Margaret Alva getting that 182 within the, and of course there were 15 votes which abstained, so that has definitely been a factor which we'll have to now look at and analyze carefully. But as we said, the new Vice President-elect, Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar, who has played an important constitutional role in Bengal, despite locking horns with the West Bengal Chief Minister, even forcing her to unfollow him on Twitter after he kept sending messages to her on how to handle the situation. So it's in that backdrop that we have somebody who has had some kind of legislative experience.
All right, so a moment of introspection really there for the opposition. The opposition's candidate, Margaret Alva, not even crossing the 200 vote mark there. But of course, these celebrations that you're seeing of of the BJP, the center over there, the BJP coming out with these huge celebrations as we await Prime Minister Modi. He is going to visit and call on the newly elected Vice President any moment now. We have these celebrations taking place really coming at a time where we've seen a tumultuous, stormy parliament session, where we've been seeing the opposition trying to take on and corner the center, where we've seen the Congress come out on the streets, renewed Congress come out on the streets to protest against the center yesterday. And so this voting and these results taking place in the backdrop of all of that. And so this imagery really important for the BJP to send out a message that perhaps they are unbeatable, certainly if the opposition continues to stay divided as they have in these elections. But I have Maha Siddiqui also joining us. Maha, were there any surprises? Were there any tidbits that have come out when we start analyzing exactly how each party voted? Were there any differences between the way a party voted in these vice presidential elections as compared to the presidential elections? There, of course, the BJP and the centre had pulled out this magic card out of its sleeve. It had this card up its sleeve with a first woman tribal candidate, making it very difficult for most people to come out openly to say that they would not support that choice. Were things different this time round?
Yes, slightly different because, all right, Sarah, I think we are getting pictures now of the Prime Minister reaching to meet Jagdeep Dhankhar.
Visuals, Prime Minister Modi, as expected, calling on Jagdeep Dhankhar, who is at the residence of the Parliamentary Affairs Minister. Prime Minister Modi calling on Jagdeep Dhankhar. It's been a huge day for the BJP, the NDA's candidates sailing through in these elections. The voting for choosing the next Vice President of India ended this evening at 5 p.m. It began at 10 a.m. and the NDA candidate Jagdeep Dhankhar, who was facing the opposition's Margaret Alva, as expected, sailed through with the BJP's support. He sailed through way above the numbers needed, and the opposition candidate not even crossing the 200 vote mark. All right, so visuals again, Prime Minister Modi calling on the NDA's candidate, who has now been elected as the Vice President, the 14th Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankhar. 725 electors cast their votes in these vice presidential polls. The total turnout, we're told, was 92.94%. The opposition candidate had said earlier that this poll is not a token fight. Many things can happen, she had said, as they went into the polling today. Clearly not. The voting for choosing the next vice president ended at 5 p.m. Counting was underway then, and just at the top of the hour at the 8 o'clock wheel, that big announcement has come through. And Prime Minister Modi currently calling on to congratulate the NDA's candidate. All right, Maha, let's bring our viewers up to date then on who exactly our new vice president is. What can you tell us about Jagdeep Dhankhar? We, of course, know him. The public would probably know him over his last tenure as governor of West Bengal, where he has been in the headlines because of the acrimonious relationship we saw between the TMC chief minister of West Bengal and the governor. But who is and what do we know about our 14th vice president?
Yes, absolutely. When he was governor of West Bengal, that's when, he was grabbing so many headlines almost on a very regular basis because of the acrimonious relationship that the governor had with the Trinamool Congress government there of Mamata Banerjee. Jagdeep Dhankhar there clearly then showcasing to the NDA as well that he is a candidate who is fit for this position for the NDA, simply because of the fact that not only has he been the governor of a state, West Bengal, but also the fact that in the past he has been a parliamentarian as well. from Rajasthan. So he has that kind of experience to be able to not just hold the office of the Vice President, but remember, the Vice President holds a very important place in the Rajya Sabha. He chairs the Rajya Sabha and therefore becoming important in that sense as well. Jagdeep Dhankhar, 71 years old, an advocate who has been a politician for long, was with the Janata Dal, then for the longest ever time with the BJP, knows the party completely. And therefore, what we are seeing clearly is that Jagdeep Dhankhar, who the party chose as the vice presidential, or rather the NDA chose as the vice presidential candidate today, winning this election by a much greater margin perhaps than M. Venkaiah Naidu as well. M. Venkaiah Naidu, I believe, won 68% of the votes. For Jagdeep Dhankhar, it almost appears that he must have crossed the 70% mark there, and that is largely because, as we were explaining earlier as well, Sarah, that there are several parties, non-NDA, non-Congress parties, non-opposition parties as well, some of them which have traditionally been fence-sitters as well, are today voting in support of Jagdeep Dhankhar. Some on expected lines, but some surprising as well. For instance, if you take a look at Shiromani Akali Dal, which had quit the NDA over the Farm Laws Bill, they supported both the presidential and the vice presidential nominee of the NDA, ISRCP, the BJD, all of them, BSP as well, saying that they are going to support Jagdeep Dhankhar, have voted for him. That's why he's got 528 votes. On the other hand, Margaret Alva, the only change that we've seen from the presidential elections really has been the JMM. The JMM was caught in a bit of a situation in the presidential elections because Draupadi Murmu, being a tribal leader, they had to go with her. But in these elections, they went with Margaret Alva. However, despite that, and despite K. Chandrasekhar Rao as well siding with the opposition candidate, what we've seen is Margaret Alva only getting about 182 votes, not even nearing 200. That was the estimation earlier that was made, that she'll be able to garner about 200 votes. But more than anything else, it was about symbolism. The fact that the opposition was putting up a candidate, despite knowing that Dhankhar was on a very strong footing there. They did, in fact, put up Margaret Alva as a candidate, though it upset the Trinamool Congress so much so that they abstained from voting. The Trinamool Congress has a different sort of a situation, was in a different sort of a situation here. Jagdeep Dhankhar would ideally have been a candidate that they would have gone, openly against, considering, as Sarah, we were discussing the acrimonious relationship he shared with the Trinamool Congress government, with the Mamata Banerjee government in the state. However, today they have abstained largely from voting. We are getting to know that there were at least 2 people, despite the TMC taking that decision of not voting in these elections, they did go ahead and vote for Jagdeep Dhankhar. But by and large, Jagdeep Dhankhar there, 71 years old, from Rajasthan, who is now the vice president of the country, an advocate. I mean, he's been trained as an advocate, has been a politician, has been a member of parliament from Junjunu in Rajasthan, and then of course best known for being the governor of West Bengal for the last couple of years.
All right. Thanks so much, Maha. I'm going to let you go because, of course, we all want to know more about whether there was any cross-voting today, as we saw massive cross-voting for Draupadi Murmu that had exposed the opposition's unity in the presidential elections. But the big story at this, India now has its new vice president, its new 14th vice president. Joining us now is Alok Vats of the BJP, Saket Gokhale of the TMC, Rohan Gupta of the Congress, Jasmine Shah of the Aam Aadmi Party, and Sridhar Reddy of the TRS. Rohan Gupta, let's start with you first. Cracks in the opposition clearly exposed, perhaps some time for introspection for the entire opposition. But let me first ask, let's focus on the fact that the opposition's candidate did not even cross the 200 vote mark.
See, I think as your correspondent was saying, there is not much of a cross-voting, and let the number come out. We should not jump the this thing. We should wait for it. But overall, if you see, this is the ideological fight. We know that number-wise we won't be able to match NDA, but we need to fight this battle. This is larger battle, not only about vice president. And let me remind you one thing: when presidential elections were there, it was claimed that BJP candidate will win with highest number of votes or historic number of votes, and practically it was not that way. It was not a landslide victory, and the number of votes got by Draupadi Murmu was less than the last time vote what Mr. Kovind got. So my point here is we should wait for the actual numbers party-wise, and then we can analyze. Yes, we have been defeated, but at the end of the day, it is a larger fight, and we'll keep on fighting this fight.
At the end of the day, it's a larger fight. Saket Gokhale, the TMC here, in a sense, losing the battle but hoping to win the war? Saket? Saket, can you unmute? I think you need to unmute.
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
There's no question of losing the battle, winning the war, anything along those lines, frankly, because, I mean, as a party, compared to any other opposition party, we have faced Dhankhar and the kind of cozy relationship he enjoyed with the BJP.
So isn't it ironic? What have you achieved today by this then? Given the fact that nobody else has had a more, would have liked to have seen Mr. Dhankhar lose, it's certainly not win by such a huge margin than the TMC.
Sure, but look, our situation that we faced in Bengal should not be used as a pretext for belittling any party or for any party claiming to be sitting at a higher table than another opposition party. The reason we abstained right from the beginning was very clear. Us and the Congress party, we're not allies. Okay, we are like-minded parties. The Congress and the CPM are allies in Bengal. They fought against the Trinamool Congress just as the BJP did. But we are like-minded parties. We have a lot of issues in common when we discuss in Parliament, a lot of issues on which we protest together. However, the manner in which, if you look at the presidential election, it was Mamata Banerjee who convened a meeting, wrote in advance to all the leaders. Everyone got together, decided on a consensus name, had a meeting, after that discussed other potential names. Here, we were called 10 minutes before the meeting was about to start. There was no invitation, and we were told that we have decided, basically Congress plus its allies, have decided that this will be the VP candidate and you're supposed to go out and put your stamp on that. That is not, I mean, on one side we criticize the BJP for not following federalism and other things, but that is not the way any sort of consensus, I mean, consensus means discussing candidates, shortlisting and coming at a decision together. So if you're not going to be included in a part of the decision-making process, then, and this was not an opinion, this was not an easy decision to take. This was taken after consulting all our members of parliament in a meeting, was put to a vote, and through consensus, all our MPs in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha said that we would prefer to abstain because of the way this entire process has been conducted.
Okay, Rohan Gupta, let me go back to you. On July 30th, 2019, when Jagdeep Dhankhar took oath as the governor of West Bengal, not many, in political circles, the social circles certainly, etc., were familiar with his name. What led to his fame perhaps was his eventful but rather controversial term as the governor of West Bengal. Yet you have a situation where you have the TMC abstaining from voting. Was this not, in a sense, a self-goal by the Congress and the opposition, where a candidate like Jagdeep Dhankhar, you have the TMC, you're not able to get the TMC also to come on board?
See, as you have rightly told, whatever worst faced by when Mr. Dhankhar was governor was by TMC, and they giving these reasons. I don't want to go into reasons now. As I told, this is a larger fight. And if TMC wanted that opposition has been united and yes, we want to fight this fight together, the situation would have been different. But my point here is, since TMC has been on receiving end, you need to ask them that why they have abstained from these elections. I cannot answer that. Congress party has tried we have made every effort, each effort to ensure that opposition is united. And our candidates reached out to each and every MPs. We have reached out to even CMs also. So I don't want to comment on that. I think you can ask TMC spokesperson that at the end of the day, when you have been complaining about the approach of Mr. Dhankhar, you have complained to even then president, then what happened overnight that you had to abstain? So there are a lot of news which are going on for the reasons of doing this, but I don't want to get into
the two biggest opposition parties, the Congress and the Trinamool, not able to see eye to eye. I'll come back to you, Saket Gokhale, in a second, but let me bring in Jasmine Shah. Jasmine, where does this leave the Aam Aadmi Party? You have the Congress and the TMC at loggerheads at each other. Now, in the end, the fact is, as a united opposition, you all have failed miserably. And where does this leave AAP specifically?
Sarah, the decision that each party takes is its own prerogative. And in case of Aam Aadmi Party, it was a very independent decision that we took. We've long been stating that the country is not looking for just any united opposition. The country is looking for hope. The country is looking for inspiration. The country is looking for a model of governance which today they believe Aam Aadmi Party can offer. Having said that, today let me congratulate Mr. Dhankhar, and as Aam Aadmi Party, we wish and we hope that he will be the vice president of all political parties equally, and he will protect the constitution as is expected, and we hope that he has a very successful tenure. The elections are a past, but we would like to work with the vice president of India to ensure that the hopes that people have of their elected governments, the hope that people have of the constitution are upheld.
But Jasmine Shah, has this election outcome, the vice presidential election outcome, the polls, the numbers shown that we have an opposition that's really beset by the perils of one-upmanship?
Sarah, if you see, as far as Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, we did come around to the candidate, Ms Margaret Alva. So I think by and large, you are pointing at the quibble that TMC has with Congress. And I think it is for these two parties to figure out.
And of the other parties involved to resolve it.
No, it is not. It is not for other parties to resolve.
Are you then admitting that you are a junior partner, that this had to be resolved between the TMC and the Congress?
No, I think
are they the two leading opposition parties, not the AAP?
Absolutely not, Sarah. If tomorrow AAP disagrees on something, it is for us to finally decide whether we want to agree towards something which is for the betterment of the nation or not. So, we don't want to be a headmaster if two children are quarreling. I think these are two mature parties, and they should determine that at the end of the day, let's put the interests of the nation forward. If any of them have failed to do so, then they should introspect on it. I don't think it is Aam Aadmi Party's remit to go and tell anyone or direct anyone that this is what you should be doing. As a party, we have played our role. We have played our responsibility. Elections are over, and we would now like to work towards work with the future Vice President of India in ensuring that he delivers on the hopes and promises that the people of the country have won.
All right. And Sridhar Reddy, the TRS announcing, the Telangana Rashtra Samiti announcing on Friday that it will be throwing in its weight behind Margaret Alva, the opposition's joint candidate. Your reactions to these results coming in now?
See, it's an ideological fight, and the united opposition fielded its candidate, whether it is for the position of President of India, then Vice President of India. And our Chief Minister and Party President, Sri KCR, found they are suitable to the position, their stature, their service in the public life. So we have supported, we fought. It is not one-way politics for BJP. The country's opposition has decided on the two candidates whom we have decided to support, and we have extended our support. And we have voted for them. The result
the Chief Minister KCR has announced today of all days, even as that voting was underway, that he will not be attending the Niti Aayog meeting, of which the PM is the chairperson. So him making it clear that is the TRS saying that they are a key opposition leader in the upcoming, as we head into this, the next phase looking at the general elections? What is the message the TRS has sent out with the Chief Minister making that press conference today while these votes were being counted?
See, this is clearly our Chief Minister has written a letter to the Prime Minister Modi, and we are very clear. It's a mark of protest against the Union government's autocratic, unilateral and discriminative approach towards the states, particularly Telangana, and against the states which are progressing in the country today. And NITI Aayog today has become an institution which they have started with a greater promises and all. Today lost its direction, lost its charm, and it become a mere ornamental organization where it become a puppet of their bosses. There is no discussion, there is no dialogue. It's completely a dictatorial approach from the Union government today, and the recommendations of NITI Aayog, no government, rather Union government is not following. I'll give you a classic example of 2016, where NITI Aayog has recommended 24,000 crore rupees as an assistance to Telangana government for our two flagship programs, one is Mission Kakatiya, which actually was instrumental in restoring the tanks, which improved the groundwater levels and rural economy in Telangana, and another one is Mission Bhagiratha. Where today central government,
the Chief Minister had mentioned all of this in the press conference today.
The issue is when you are not in a position to respect your own institution, which you think it is superior in the country.
All right. Alok Vats of the BJP, big congratulations to you.
When there is no place for the Chief Ministers to speak.
No place for the Chief Ministers to speak, Alok Vats, on a day when the BJP is celebrating, but some of that shine being taken off because you have the TRS and the Chief Minister there, KCR, saying that yes, this is a foregone conclusion. This was an election where we knew what the outcome was going to be. The real fight is what's going to happen next. And KCR coming out in the open and saying that the Prime Minister needs to change his ways.
What does it mean by the Prime Minister change? He is taking the country forward. He is not giving tangential, but he is making inroads in the house of the people to give them relief. What else? What other changes does he want? At the international level, we are being lauded by each and every country. What else does he need the Prime Minister to change? And as regards the opposition in disarray, the person who led the Rashtrapati election, who was trying to garner all the opposition in one fold, she herself opted out from the vice presidential race. So it's very bewildering to note the person who was pioneering the presidential election has opted out of and stayed away from the vice president election.
No, I'm sorry.
They are in total disarray and they'll continue to be so. It is very, very embarrassing to us because I feel there should be a strong opposition to keep the Loktantra democracy in balance, which is not happening, and day by day they are showing that they are not together by their own action.
Get a clearer line for Alok Vats, please. If you could just disconnect and join back again. Jasmine Shah, to you, then Rohan Gupta, and then Saket Gokhale. Jasmine Shah, it seems as we do introspection right now, opposition parties have not understood the gravity of the situation, while the BJP understands the opposition's weakness very clearly.
Well, I think, it is true that the opposition parties need to introspect, and on matters where they need to work together, they should, act in a mature way. I can only speak on behalf of the Aam Aadmi Party. We know how important the presidential and the vice presidential elections are. And, as a party, we decided well in advance and we stayed the course. Having said that, I mean, at the end of the day, it was always known, how the numbers tally up for both the presidential and vice presidential elections. And therefore, I think the fight in front of the nation is a longer one, which is, can we hold our, the president and the vice president accountable? At the end of the day, it's the constitution that is at stake. These are not ceremonial posts. These are very important posts. And that is where I think, irrespective of who gets elected, we need to hold these offices to the highest standards of accountability and scrutiny.
At the end of the day, it was a known outcome what the result of today would be, but it is still not known how opposition parties, what they will learn from this and how we will move ahead. Rohan Gupta, the conflict over the territorial expansion of each party is a smaller problem in the opposition camp compared to the main issue here. I want to ask you and then Saket Gokhale that the opposition doesn't seem to have a policy alternative to the BJP.
See, we have seen what has happened during this monsoon session where majority of the political parties, they came together. We tried to raise their voice against price rise, against increase in GST on essential commodity. And the way BJP's dictatorial approach was visible. I am sorry to say that what BJP spokesperson was saying that he wishes to have a stronger opposition. I think the leadership, doesn't believe in that. We are not allowed to raise our voice inside the parliament. We are not allowed to raise our voice outside the parliament. So I think we are moving towards dictatorship. And as Rahulji has rightly told, that democracy is in memory now. So we need to fight this approach together. It is not about one party. It is about saving our democracy. It is about our constitution. And in this larger fight, I think it's important for all the opposition parties to come together and show more unity than what is visible now. Because we need to save our country at the end of the day. Then the other smaller issues can be dealt with, but the larger issue of saving our nation, saving our constitution is crucial.
Are you willing to let another party take the lead, given the Congress does not have the numbers, given the Congress's numbers have been whittled down to a mere like 2 double digits in Parliament? Are you willing to say, in the interest of the nation, as you're pointing out, given the challenges that you're facing, that the opposition needs to come together and work together, are you willing to step back and let somebody else, another party, another leader take charge and lead, be the face of the opposition?
See, we have seen even during presidential election, the name suggested as a candidate was not Congress candidate. It's not about willing to step down or step up. We need to understand who is raising the voice against this government. Majorly, if you see all the agitation, it is only Mr. Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi, which these are the leaders who don't bow down to what BJP does. We keep on fighting, whether it is price rise, whether it is farmers' agitation, whether it is GST. You tell me other party raising voice like this. So it's not about we deciding or we willing to do whatever not. It's about the country. The people of the country will decide that who are fighting sincerely, honesty, and without fear. So let it be decided by the people of country. We are ready to fight for the people, for the cause of the people.
All right. Thank you so much, Alok Vats. Big congratulations to you. A big day for the BJP, for the centre here. Thank you, Saket Gokhale, Rohan Gupta of the Congress, Jasmine Shah and Sridhar Reddy of the TRS. A moment of introspection for our opposition parties and opposition leaders as the big story of the day. Those results have come in that the NDA's Jagdeep Dhankhar has been elected as India's next vice president. Let's go across to Sunil Prabhu, who's been monitoring the story. So, Sunil, you've had a chance to look closer at the numbers. Actually, no big surprises there in terms of how parties have voted or cross-voting, because the final results seem to have been as we had predicted before, correct?
That's right. I don't think... how exactly that voting takes place. I'm going to try and see if I can get somebody to speak. Dushyant, if you can just have a few words with you on the vice presidential election we're going. So I think that meeting with the Prime Minister has just left, but this is clearly the scenes here where everybody seems to be quite happy with the results. We'll have to analyze, as I said, 528 to 182. Isn't something of a surprise, but you did hear that slight lament from Margaret Alva when she talked about opposition unity, about the fact.
From Margaret Alva when she talked about opposition unity, about the fact that one way or the other it has shown who has actually supported and really worked towards opposition unity. So that's the scene that we have seen here. The drums, of course, continuing to be beaten after this victory for the BJP's candidate. It's been a momentous occasion for them, and really both their candidates, the vice presidential as well as presidential candidates. India now has a new president as well as a vice president before India's independence when we celebrate 75 years. And it's in that context we'll have to wait and see how things play out and what role Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar does in the Rajya Sabha, which is a crucial house in terms of ensuring government business gets done there.
We can see all of these celebrations taking place behind you. As we've been saying all along, this election really was a foregone conclusion. But these celebrations and the scale at which they're taking place, that also symbolic in a messaging going out by the BJP, because these elections come amidst a stormy monsoon session. They come a day after we saw the Congress saying it was a renewed, rejuvenated Congress taking to the streets to take on the government, to take on the centre on various issues. In that backdrop, these results and the large margin by which the NDA candidate has won is crucial for the BJP. The BJP trying to send out a message here that they are invincible. Sunil? All right, we seem to have lost the line there with Sunil Prabhu reporting on the outcome. Not sure if Sunil can hear me, but Sunil reporting there on how these results have possibly exposed the fissures in the opposition's ranks. The Prime Minister Modi, who, as you can see on your screen, went on today to congratulate Mr. Dhankhar, who has been elected now, the former Bengal Governor, elected as the Vice President. He has bested the opposition's Margaret Alva to emerge as the winner. The BJP-led NDA candidate winning these elections comfortably by a wide margin with 528 votes against the opposition candidates. Ms Alva's 182, not even crossing the 200 vote mark there. The Vice President is also the ex-officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. So Margaret Alva, we're told, has congratulated Mr. Dhankhar on the win. She has also thanked leaders of the opposition and MPs from across parties who voted for her, saying that this election is over, but the battle for protecting our constitution, for strengthening our democracy and restoring the dignity of Parliament will continue.